Hey everybody. Hey everybody. How y'all doing out there? Give me a moment, I'm just gonna do a quick hello in the chat. Good to see y'all out there. I think I saw a few interested in what was playing. This is the Witcher soundtrack. I think the bulk of what Witcher 3 Wild Hunt soundtrack specifically. I'll try to drop a link in it for you. I think the majority of the songs I played so far are off the Blood and Wine soundtrack. So yeah, it's really, really good. I'm glad you like it. Hey Nicholas, welcome. Actually, the first thing Nicholas asks is, where's the tunes? Hopefully you guys were hearing that, right? I want to give so hello to Nicholas, True Detective, Ryan, Whirling Water, Handyman, great to see all of you. Andre, welcome, great to see you, sister. And Dawn, welcome. Dawn says, hi, I'm new here. I thought I was late, but I guess not. Oh no, you don't have to worry about that. You'll learn pretty quickly that me being on time is near impossible, but it's great to have you with us, and thanks for joining, Dawn. And welcome. And hello, Before Moon. Hello, are we ready? Yes. Good to see you and welcome. Thank you. And Eddie, hey Eddie, great to see you. I'm Sovereign, hey, great to see you. Welcome. I'll make sure. Let's see. Earl. Hello, Earl. Welcome. And Oscillate. Good to see you, Oscillate. Welcome. Hope you're doing well. And Jess. Hey, Jess. Jess says, hi, fellow inmates. Yeah, and Aquila Kyla in the chat. Good to see you. Says, Mark better go on a rant with a muted mic tonight, or else I'll grow suspicious that it's not him, but an AI imposter. Yes, my muted rants, sir. Yeah. Gotta at least get a few of those in a year, right? Hey, Uni, good to see you. Welcome, sister. And let's see, I think that's Ashes. Hello, Ashes. Welcome. Welcome. Oh no, the chat refreshed. Why did it do that? Okay, here we go. Mao. Hey, Mao. Great to see you, my friend. And Jeff. Hello, Jeff. Welcome. Glad to have you with us. John, welcome. John says, music good, company good, beer is good. Guess I'm in for the night. Enjoy. Cheers, my friend. Tommy, hello, welcome. Great to see you. Welcome. Saren, welcome. Good to see you. Saren says, awesome music, incredible feeling, must be vigilant. The Lush Farm of the Intensity. Hi, everyone. Greetings to all the last timers. Greetings. Hey, Trillin. Great to see you. Says your music is always on point. Thanks. Glad you enjoyed it. I'll be sure to drop a link for you guys. True Detective. Oh, I already said hi to True Detective. Well, hello again. Holiday Fairchild. Good to see you, sister. Welcome. Roxana. Great to see you. Welcome. Zoo. Welcome. Says hi from Scotland. Glad to have you with us from Scotland. And all over the world, wherever you all may reside. Breaking the Spell. Hey, great to see you. Welcome. And I think that's about it. So everyone else in the background or maybe catching the replay, welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you for tuning in tonight. I know it's been a while since I've been doing regular public streams, but I've got some plans and hopefully we'll be able to do more of them. I got some other compilations through various parts of NDEs and other experiencer related topics. So, all right, so let's get into this. Just bear with me for 10 seconds here. All right, here we go. Now we should be able to get in here. All right. Hey, everybody. Good to see you out there. Welcome. All right, so tonight, these videos usually get some decent reach. So if you're new or otherwise on the fence to analyzing near-death experiences, or maybe you spent a lot of time analyzing near-death experiences and you've recently run across a thing called the Matrix Reincarnation Soul Trap. Well, these videos in this series and many other videos throughout the channel are designed to show the data patterns of what, in my opinion, conclusively proves that we are living in some weird soul trap loosh farm. Now, everyone would listen to that initially, including myself, and say, oh, that's like inherently negative. Well, what the hell can we do about it? And we'll go over that. But the most important thing is obviously coming to the realization through your own research that reincarnation is actually happening. Now, there are also over 20 different other related topics, and one of those is near-death experiences. And near-death experiences, in my opinion, show the most. They show the deception on steroids. The only thing is you have to look at it through the lens of, hey, could this possibly be a trick? And if you think about it, we come here lifetime after lifetime not knowing where we came from, why we are here, or where we are going. And we forget. Called the waters of forgetfulness, and the memory wipe. And in between incarnations, we lose our memory, go through a whole process with soul group and teachers, guides. We have an addiction to what I would say is like the sensory experience, which could be the earth realm, could be other related realms within this overall matrix system. It doesn't just have to be Earth. The astral realms are part of this, and our love for one another in our soul group. And that can include anyone. Could be your mother, your father, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, wife, husband, your children, right? Your pets. It could be something as much as your love for music, or love for money, adrenaline rushes. I mean, you name it. You just think about any possible connection or attachment that you can have here. And it is somehow normalized, and we forget about a lot of the suffering and issues that occur down here. And the biggest thing you'll learn in NDEs is that the experience one has is based on the individual's belief system. So the system that we are a part of, which we call the Matrix, essentially molds itself and customizes itself to you and to what your beliefs, likes, dislikes are. And then if you were to have a near-death experience, that experience would be customized around those belief systems. That's why you have various types of NDEs. Now, the structure of them, the general structure of what occurs, like let's just say like the mechanisms of them are the same over and over and over. You have either a void-like state, you have the tunnel and the light at the end, and then the life review. You can have a hellish like NDE, and but you can still have the light in the distance, and your NDE can go from good to bad, and there's still like that component of light or a savior, and that could be a deceased family member. That could be, it could be a religious, spiritual authority figure. It could be Jesus, whoever, right? God itself, the creator, etc. So that's just kind of like a small encapsulation, just to kind of get you started. And if you looked into NDEs before, you definitely know that. But realizing the different data points within NDEs, and then taking an outside look and saying to yourself, well, you know, what the hell is going on Earth, and why is in all these NDEs, you know, they're saying, oh, it's about love and learning and growth and et cetera, right? Something is really off there. Because why do we have to continually have this experience lifetime after lifetime, forget where we came from, why we are here, where we are going, and somehow it is part of some destiny, some plan of God, source, creator, whatever you want to call it, right? And we have to fulfill it as a learning experience. And in some of the cases, actually probably almost all of the cases today, you're going to hear a lot of interesting things said, and I'm going to put them, you know, to the test and say, hey, well, just think about it this way. Maybe there's something not quite right with this, right? It's not all love and light, rainbows and unicorns, right? There's something more going on. And you're going to hear one experiencer explain deep about intention, and that's something I've talked about for years on this channel, and the importance of it. Realizing that our intention is extremely powerful, and it's inherent within each and every one of us. So the thing I put forward, it's like, I don't pretend to have all the answers. I look at it, I have firm convictions and pretty strong inner knowings, but I'm not going to say that I know everything and that this is definitely the way it is and that's definitely the way it is, you know, et cetera, right? The key takeaway that you should look at when analyzing all this and considering the soul trap is, you don't know, I don't know, everybody in this chat doesn't know, but we do get a strong connection through things like out-of-body experiences, lucid dreaming, heightened meditative states, and by looking through things like NDEs, and about the connection and importance of intention. So the only thing I'll throw out there is that, okay, our intention is clearly our biggest asset as true essence beings, right? It means we truly direct the show when we're leaving here, right? And you can also experience intention on full display if you're able to eventually have an out-of-body experience. And you can direct it. Lucid dreaming, same thing. We kind of even lump those two together, but that's a subject for another day. So with taking that in mind, that the importance of intention, why not just apply your intention to not interact with this system at the time of your passing, right? Why give yourself over to something that could potentially result in you coming back here, right? That's the key thing. It's not that you're completely rejecting everything and everyone. Like I've said many times, like, hey, if I'm wrong, well, you know, apparently this God, creator, source clown is very, it's understanding, it's okay. So clearly, if it's okay, with its children, then why wouldn't it not be okay with me kind of taking my own path when I leave here instead of going through the mechanics that this matrix glaringly lays out before us, which seem like a processing plant, a cattle processing plant. That's what it seems like. And it's just like, okay, I die. I go through the whole phase of the in-between lives period, maybe, take some classes, hang out with my soul group, this and that. And then eventually I get harassed or convinced to go into the pre-birth planning phase, bing, bang, boom, and I'm back here, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, right? So instead of just blindly trusting that this supposed God, source, creator, or that this whole system, this matrix, is as advertised, why not just do your own thing when you die and roll with the dice, right? With your own intention, with your own conviction, through things like sovereignty, non-interference, and liberation. So that's just kind of an intro into today. And if you're new, welcome. If you're kind of on the fence, I totally get it. I was there. It took me a number of years to truly come around to all this, but there's a lot of evidence to suggest that this is what's going on and that we have a lot more power than we've been led to believe. So again, welcome, and let's get into this. So we're going to dive right into some NDEs. Like I said, I think we're going to go over like 16 or 17 today. And just give me one moment while I get this up on the screen for y'all. I appreciate y'all coming out. All right, I did have it, and here we go. All right, so I'm not the quickest with this stuff. Getting old.
And at that moment,
there we go.
What I call a movie started playing. My eyes were closed, so it was a combination. It wasn't a memory, but you know how memories look like films? They can look like films. Well, it was like that, but crystal clear and not foggy and in and out like a memory. It was like I was watching an actual movie, a replay of something that had happened 2 weeks earlier at a band rehearsal that I was in. And I was in another band with my brother. And my brother and I had gotten into an argument about something. Now, these movies, I could see like a movie, and I was also in it at the same time. And it's hard to explain the two versions of the perception, but I could feel everything I felt in the moment exactly like it happened for me in that moment, but I was also watching it like a movie. And there we were having our argument. And at one point, this movie froze on one frame, and it was me upset. And a voice appeared out of who knows where. It was in my head. I could hear it in my head, but it wasn't my usual inner dialogue voice. And it was a male voice, very calm and gentle. And it said, "What were you thinking at that moment?" And that startled me enough that I suddenly wasn't as terrified about everything that was happening to my legs and everything. I was in that moment trying to think, what was I thinking? And then I remembered and I said it. The moment I said my answer, the little movie went away and a new movie came in, started playing. I was in it at the same time. And this time I raised an eyebrow right when the freeze frame happened. And the voice said, "What were you thinking right then?" And I answered that. And it happened again, a new one. This time I looked down during a conversation. Freeze frame. What were you thinking when you lowered your head? And I answered that. This went on for several hours. These were replays of events in my life throughout my adulthood, not my childhood for some reason. And they spanned years, and they'd covered many, many friendships and relationships. Each one was a specific moment where I had an internal thought. And there were a couple times I tried to lie in my answer because I didn't want to admit I had a judgment about someone, or I just wanted to be goody two shoes. Well, the voice knew the answer, and it would pause and say, "Are you sure about that?" It's very nice, non-judgmental, but just had me revisit my answer. And I said, well, actually,
Okay, so really important, non-judgmental, right? We cannot forget that what we have is a system that is a pipeline, a all but guaranteed pipeline, except for those who awaken and realize their true essence within, as far as intention goes, and liberation and sovereignty and non-interference, right? But what we see is a program. That's really what it is. It's a program that runs itself automatically. You die, you have an NDE, which is, you basically dying temporarily, and you go through this mechanism, the void, negative experience, good experience, light, tunnel, light, life review, right? And we always hear this over and over and over again that, oh, it's not judgmental, but it's designed to be just that. It's designed to prop up the illusion of perceived karma within the system that is basically owed. That's really what it's doing. Let's just call it what it is. All right. This karma aspect to the system is huge. It's a huge part of it. Obviously, the memory wipe's a huge part of it, but belief in karma, belief in, absolving your sins, or making amends and this and that, or trying to do better in the next lifetime, etc. These are very common narratives and beliefs and spiritual practices that are put forth in the matrix. And well, what do we have? Lo and behold, there is a system that caters just to that. But what they don't tell you is how you go through this, you forget, you buy into it, and then you end up back here again and again and again and again. And each time under the veil of forgetfulness.
no, I was actually thinking blah, blah, blah. And as soon as I said the true answer, it would go away and a new movie would start. This continued for several hours while that puffy feeling was leaving the top of my head. At the end of the three or so hours, I could tell I was much weaker, but I also wasn't as focused on my body because I was kind of leaving my body. And at that point, the movie stopped, and it was like a blank screen. And the voice said, "Barbara, you have a choice now. Would you like to stay or go?" Those hours I was shown those little movies, and I was asked that question, what were you thinking? What was the common denominator? And then I realized it was the same question, more or less, for the entire time. It was all about what was I thinking. And it was trying to show me, this guide was trying to connect for me. A very simple thing, maybe all of us know, maybe we don't, at least we're not very conscious of it, I don't think, that what we're thinking has a total connection with what's happening, or what's our perception of what is happening. anything could be happening out there, but my thought about it is what's going to make it positive or negative for me. My thought about it later is going to make me happy or sad later when it's not even happening anymore. My thought about a fear that hasn't even happened and may never happen in the future is going to alter how I'm feeling in that moment. And it was showing me this connection between negative thinking and outer world.
It was showing her basically part of her soul group, her soul pre-birth planning, and some of the things that played itself out, and some of the interactions that she had within her soul group throughout her life. Right? That's it. It's See, the thing is it's not this whole divine thing. This like everything is always like framed as this learning experience. Nothing could be further than the truth. You can. This is so important, guys. You can not learn and grow from something that steals your memory of things you need to improve on lifetime after lifetime. If you're being memory wiped lifetime after lifetime, how can you possibly improve upon that and make changes for the better if you're unaware of those things? And that right there is the biggest nail in the coffin to the Matrix, and shows that we live in some sort of Matrix reincarnation soul trap. And yes, it's more aligns with a trick, but the thing is I've said this before, just to kind of put this out there. I mean, I'm not a fan of the word trap either, but that's what people search for, so you kind of gotta, if people are going to find this information, it's called soul trap. So, but at the end of the day, it's our intention. It's our waking up and realizing who and what we are and the power that we all yield within.
And how they're dancing with each other in a way that was causing me a hell of a lot of harm and suffering.
Yeah, but it's all a learning experience, dancing. It's all part of the game, guys. It's all part of the script.
Like I couldn't hold those things that I believed in earth or the physical life to where I was at. It just seemed so separate. And it just demanded everything about me. I mean, you put yourself into a place where it just shatters your whole paradigm. You can kind of understand where I'm coming from when it's just that captivating. Like you have no choice but to be in awe of this great presence. And so as I'm going through that and I'm realizing where I'm at and taking it all in, I start to get these, I would like to call them bits of information, like being downloaded into my consciousness. And what I guess what other NDEers would say would be their life review was totally opposite for me on how it presented my life review. Some would say they had someone there to judge them, or they felt like they were being judged. For me, I was judging myself, saying things like,
I was judging myself. You're going to hear me bring this one up probably a lot in this one. And if you've been watching the channel for a while, you've probably heard me bring this up many, many times about how so many experiencers continually say, I was judging myself. But I'll just go back to what we just discussed. It's a mechanism. This is a program that's running in the background of this system, this matrix that we all find ourselves in. All right. So there's some trickery going on, some deception going on that gets us to believe that, hey, this is just us, judging ourselves. It has nothing to do with the program that instigates this thought process, this analyzing of said misdeeds.
Like, why didn't you do that? Why didn't we set out and accomplish the things that we wanted to accomplish. You promised me that we would do this. You said we were going to do this, but now you're not doing it. And I'm talking as if there's like two of us speaking, which gets to the point of, I had no idea that there was a me inside of me. And I know that sounds strange, but it's
No,
like
it
there's a
doesn't.
higher self. There's a higher us.
See that doesn't this is okay. I'm sorry. There's going to be a lot of rants in this video, but he says, "Oh, I didn't realize, basically that my true self, my true essence was there." Well, that's the whole point of Earth. We come into these meat suits and we get conditioned. And if you're new to this information, check out my video on early childhood development. There's a lot to this. This system is so well thought out that we go through various different brainwave states as we mature in the matrix as humans. And depending on our age and the brainwave state at the time, our perceptions are different. Our understanding of our surroundings, excuse me, and who and what we are and all that stuff changes drastically as we move. But we also have a system that's set up to get us lost in the sauce of materialism and the sensory addiction, right? Love and sex and music and all sorts of skydiving, whatever, right? Sports, whatever it may be, right? Addiction to money. We can go on and on and on and on and on. There are so many different things that are set up within the system to distract us, to take us away from realizing who and what we are as true essence beings. And as long as it can achieve that, they got you.
Which gets to the point of, I had no idea that there was a me inside of me. And I know that sounds strange, but it's like there's a higher self, there's a higher us in all of us. And when we go to the physical, we project a piece of ourselves into these avatars and live out the physical experience. So it felt like I was accountable to not only my avatar, my physical self, but also my spiritual higher self. And I would just have these debates and just like this constant judging myself very hard. And, there's people there we could have treated better. And why didn't we do this? And why did we do that? Thinking about it now and back on it, it was like, I judged myself so hard that I didn't need anyone to judge me. I was doing a damn good job of it.
I can relate so much.
And I would say things like, well, I didn't know I was supposed to do these things. Maybe if someone gave me a little bit of advice when I was down there to remember, maybe I would do those things. Probably not how it works, but this is the questioning I was having, the dialogue with my higher self or myself. And I was so worried about what I did and what I could not finish. And the moments of me having that, more, I guess, imprints or expressions were being delivered to me as how close we are as a human race, the human consciousness. It's like every soul that exists is all in one. And I was a part of that. So looking back and reflecting on the earth life, it really felt at times like, oh, I'm not a part of that anymore. I just took myself out of that connectivity. And the best way to put it, where I tell people, it's like if we are all consciousness in the ocean and you take a drop out of the ocean is a drop less of itself. And that drop representing me, I feel like alone now. I don't have that space, that home to share with the rest of the human consciousness. And if you were to place that drop back in the ocean, you would become a part of it again, seamless. There's no fictitious borders of, here's a border to America, China, or whatever race or whatever we have pending in the physical that separates us from each other. When I emerged back into the ocean, I just felt the unity. Now, it wasn't the case, it was only an expression, a reflection of what it was like to be away from consciousness. On the other side, I felt like I was consciousness. I was so expansive and so broad and big and free to think, and so everything was so.
Okay, so this is really, really, really important to put out there. This matrix, this system knows damn well, guys, that we are expansive, that we're more aware and awake to who and what we are, and our connection, I guess we can say, to existence, the multiverse, however you want to claim it. Sorry, I didn't want to cough in your ears. But the Matrix is very, very aware of this, right? So what it does is it runs interference. It runs this program that is able to convince or keep us contained within it so that we are buying their bullshit. Just like we buy the bullshit here for many years as we grow and mature within the matrix of the earth realm, the same thing applies in the astral. But all it has to do is achieve your interest, achieve your attention, and get you under its grips, right? And that happens at the time of death. That's when it gets us. But what if I told you that you can bypass that completely through your own intention? Say, no, I am not complying with this. I'm going my own way. I'm not going to be interfered with. I'm not going to interact with anyone or anything. I'm going my own way, doing my own thing, and that's all there is to it. Right? How come this type of a conversation is so controversial? You would think after people have spent just this lifetime alone looking at the absolute fuckery going on, that they would say, okay, he may not be right. This whole soul trap thing may be bullshit, but you know what? It can't hurt to try and just, assert my own sovereign intentions for non-interference and liberation. I mean, it can't hurt, right? What is it going to do? Is God going to strike you with a lightning bolt? No, supposedly he's this freaking amazing individual just chilling on the sideline saying, hey, it's all about love. So if he's so loving and so understanding, or it is so loving and understanding, then no big deal, right? It's a win-win situation. You can't lose. But you sure can lose a hell of a lot by forgetting everything we've talked about, everything you've learned about the bullshit going on here in the earth realm, and then recycling once again. Now that is a huge roll of the dice to put out there. For what? Ego? Yeah, I mean, I trust in God. I trust in the creator source. Everything is love and light, when literally every goddamn thing is the polar opposite here going on in this realm right now. It's an absolute shit show out there. Billions are suffering. People are getting, shelled. Their bank accounts being fleeced by the second, and yet, you just, like to roll the dice on, everything being as advertised, just because the astral realm beings, entities, someone pointing itself as some source, God, creator, being type thing is relaying this information through experiencers. or maybe your own experiences. I had some crazy experiences early on in my awakening, and I was under the spell of a love bomb. I've talked about it years ago, right? And I was under that spell, right? It took me some time to get out of it, but I still was like staying the course and say, no, I want to know more. This doesn't make sense. What's happening here? It's a total slap in the face to all of us that this is some righteous, moral, ethical experience at the behest of some so-called God, source, creator being who, let me remind you, created this meat suit in all its flaws. So if something is so perfect and so incredible and so amazing, how could it create something with this many flaws and so much evil out there? I'm not saying it's all evil. It's all bad. There's a lot of good. There's a lot of love. And you know what? That's the beauty of humanity, is the love, the connection, right? There's a lot to be said for that. But the opposite, the flip side, cannot be ignored, my friends. It can't. And that's where I have a problem. And the flip side is running the show. And if you look back throughout what we can, I guess, say is the historic consistencies, is that a group of parasites have always been in control. There is literally no record whatsoever of a utopian, some sort of just love and light, amazing, unified group of humans on Earth, period of time. It just simply does not exist. And you know what? If the Matrix was smart, and maybe they'll take this under advisement and fuck the future incoming incarnations down the road. If they were smart, they would install a bullshit narrative that type of thing actually existed, and conjure up some bullshit proof through bullshit tablets and all that stuff that are discovered in the desert, and it's like, oh my God, 4,000 years ago, humanity, they were unified. It was all love and light. It was just incredible. Everything was amazing. Like if they did that, they could trick even some of us, maybe, right? Like you could say, oh, well, it's just part of the what's that cycle? The Kali Yuga cycles, right? Like if you look at the Kali Yuga cycles, what kind of Matrix hope porn is that? Think about it, guys. It's like, oh, well, look, right now, these yugas last hundreds, thousands of years, but you know what? Just hang on. It's no different than the clowns that say, don't take out the garbage tonight because Jesus may be coming back, right? It's the same type of mentality. It's like, I don't care if I have something telling me like, oh well, the Yuga cycle, you just gotta hold out. The Yuga cycle, it's gonna improve. But when you look at what the Yuga cycle advertises, it's horseshit. Nobody's gonna be able to live through even like a tenth of a Yuga cycle, right? Or what? I don't know how many years there, but there are a lot of years, right? And we know the human lifespan doesn't really compute. I'm going to look up exactly what the Yuga life cycles are, but they're huge, huge. And yet, oh, don't worry. Don't take out the garbage tonight. Jesus might come.
Clear, vivid, and real. I was so much bigger than my shell of itself, back in Earth. I just could feel like I could just breathe and expand on command. It was almost as if I took a deep breath, like the universe would take it with me. And when it would contract in, the universe would just kind of fold in with me, And I was just better. I can feel myself changing. But during the self-review, my self-judgment, this like blanket of love is how I describe it. it just encapsulated me, and it just, no words were ever given throughout my experience. It was all expression and imprint. Words are irrelevant there. You have an understanding with everything, like you just came from the space. Like your memory comes back where you don't need words. And I remember it just taking care of me like this mother figure would, and told me, you're right. Everything you believe in, it's okay. You don't have to worry about this and that. You are immensely loved, and you don't need to worry about that. That was an earth perspective. You went there for a lesson. You got it, but don't hold that on yourself and bring it here. There's no room for that here.
There's no room for that here. Don't be questioning anything. Don't even think about it. No room for that.
That's a different life perspective that you're receiving here. You're not judged. No more stress was involved with my spiritual self. I was at peace with that.
And these beings
All right,
were communicating.
so we're going into the next case. This is Ann Murphy. Just so you guys know, I'll put it in the chat so you know.
With my spiritual self, I was at peace with that.
And these beings were...
Okay, I'm sorry. I just want to say really quickly, I want to give a big thanks to Handyman for his kind super chat. Handyman Special sends a super chat, says, I found your channel 6 years ago. It changed my life. I love seeing all the new people here. The handyman business is going well these days, so here's a gift for all you hard work over the years. Thanks, my friend. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I'm glad the handyman business is thriving and well. I think that's one of the best areas of employment people can be in with the way things are heading. So tip my hat to you, my friend, and thank you so much. I appreciate you.
With my spiritual self, I was at peace with that.
And these beings were communicating with me, but everything was with no words. Like, I'm using words to convey as if as if we used words, but there weren't words. It was like instant communication. And
telepathy.
These beings were trying to show me like my life up to then. And we were looking at the things that I had gone through, and they showed me that I had agreed to come into this lifetime and to face this evil on a human scale, this great...
Think about that. I agreed to face this great human evil. I agreed. And I think that's all part of it, right? It's all about, I've evolved in my thinking about, well, I guess what you would call consent. This is consent being discussed. But I think it really has to do with intention. There's a lot to it. I think the soul group, look, there's a lot of trickery involved in all of this, right? So, we are essentially being tricked into giving away our consent through our intention. But at the end of the day, everything boils down to our intention. Now, do we discover ourselves in whatever lifetime we're going through and realize the power within that? Here we are today, and many of us have found that. But there are many, many ways in which the Matrix and our soul group, deceased loved ones, spiritual figures, religious figures, whatever you want to call them, archetypes, etc., can insert themselves based on the customization to you within the matrix itself, and then it gets a clouded consent, should we say? But at the end of the day, it's up to each of us to wake up and realize who and what we are, and that we hold all the cards. That's the key thing. It's like, if we don't realize that, then we're not even really awake enough to bypass the matrix anyways. Now, is that fair? Is it right? Is it just? No. But that's why this system is so freaking genius and diabolical at every freaking level. It's because it's able to cast this insane deception upon all of us for who knows how many lifetimes. But that's over. It's over.
They showed me that I had agreed to come into this lifetime and to face this evil on a human scale, this great human evil. And I looked at them, and if I had used words, I was like, well, that's stupid. Why would I do that? Right? Because I was still kind of holding some of the human emotions, and there was still some attachment. But as the
matrix would rely on those attachments, right? It would rely on those to feed its narrative to win you over. That's how the system is so diabolical. It holds so many of the cards because you got to remember, it is keeping track of each and every one of us every second of every day, of every month, of every year, from cradle to grave. It has access to everything because we're within its system. And it wrote the rule book. And the rule book contains a disgusting citation that it has access to all of us and our thoughts and our experiences and our connections and all that. And so that it can customize an experience to each and every one of us when we leave here. Or if you were to have an NDE, or even a heightened spiritual experience through something like meditation, or even like a connection in religion, etc.
And there was still some attachment, but as the near-death experience moved along, that gradually fell off. It fell away. And then I remembered, and it was like, oh yes, I remember signing up for this. I remember agreeing to this, and that there would be great help for the journey. And so these two beings of light were they were just helping me to remember what I had signed up for. And the biggest takeaway that stuck with me was the unconditional love and the no judgment. And that was totally opposite of what I'd learned so far on earth, going to church. And, it was all about a judgmental God and being sent to hell if you're bad and all that stuff. And so that was not the case. And I saw that for everybody. I got to see other experiences on other planets. And there was a very interesting one, this one planet you didn't have to eat, you absorbed light. It was like the light was around us and we just absorbed it. And we had a clothing, but you created it with your intention. And it was like it was part of you. It was like alive. It was living, and
created it with intention.
It kind of had a metallic look almost, but it was alive, the colors. And that's how we communicated. We communicated through these colors in the clothing that we created through our intention. And you could have a ship if you wanted that could go anywhere. And it was also created through intention. So it wasn't made out of like metal or something like that. It was like an extension of our being. And through your intention, if you set your intention clear, you could be wherever you wanted instantly. The same time you left was when you arrived. It was all simultaneous. It's amazing. So I saw a lifetime that was that. And there was no war on this planet. It was very high vibration, and they had already kind of moved beyond the lower kind of, if you will, vibrational frequencies. And it's important to make clear that there's no comparison in that state. So everything is accepted completely. Where anybody or anything is at is totally accepted, and it's perfect just the way it is. It's just unfolding precisely. And so there's no competition, there's no comparison, there's no greater than, less than, scorekeeping. It's just any being is just where they're at, and it's perfect. And it's received and perceived and accepted with that same pure grace and love. So I saw a lot on the journey with these two light beings, and so when, like, them showing me that I had agreed to this, that when I remembered that, it was like, oh yes. And the challenge was for me to remember who we all are. And because I had other lifetimes where I had died in a rage and feeling betrayed and angry and didn't remember who I was or who others were. I was stuck in that egoic kind of judgment stuff. So I guess you get as many chances as you like, right? So this time it was like, I'm really going to try to remember who we all really are.
It was God's love.
Okay, so before we start, I've talked about this before, and I think it's important to bring up again, is, you know, I understand, like, about the whole planets thing. I'm with you. I get it. But the key thing you have to understand is, in all of this, and, you know, I've run across this and discussed it many, many times. With near-death experiences, like the intro to the video, I talked about how everything is customized to your belief system. If you believe space and planets and space exploration and all that stuff is legitimate and real, then that can be incorporated into your experience. So again, it's all about the Matrix customizing its bullshit into your bullshit belief system and playing it out. So that doesn't automatically like invalidate like someone's experience. There are millions, if not billions, of people who believe in the bullshit of space, right? It's just the way it is. Like me personally, I think this whole damn thing is just one big fat illusion. Like I'll go a step further and say, yeah, I don't believe it is as advertised. I think we know it's not. I think there's more than enough evidence to say that it's not some spinning ball hurling itself through outer space and blah blah blah. Like I don't buy any of that, right? But I believe it's even something further than that. I think that it's all essentially an illusion, and we're all participating in this illusion together, this holographic illusion, shall we say, together, right? But that doesn't take away from someone who had an NDE, who believes in space, believes in NASA, believes in SpaceX, and all these bullshit space agencies, right? All that stuff is real to them. So the Matrix customized an experience where someone dies, has an NDE, and they go through it, right? and they have this big illusory party. So that's my response to that. It does not take away from the legitimacy of their experience. Now, does that say, now saying that, like, I guess you, like, does that mean like every single NDE is authentic? No. I mean, they're like, the one thing that is very obvious in today's existence is that there's a lot of bullshit out there. And there's a lot of bullshit AI, NDE channels, and et cetera going on. And, you know, it is what it is. But there are hundreds of thousands of examples of cases long before the AI realm. And if someone believes in something, the Matrix will customize that experience for them, because it doesn't care about anything except winning them over through their current belief systems, which they just so happen to learn here on Earth through propaganda.
That saturated my soul. And I mean nothing in comparison to all the love acts that you've maybe witnessed or felt. I mean, it's times a factor of like 10,000 or 100,000 or 500,000 throughout every single molecule of my soul. It was abundant, just so much abundance. The purity of his love, the simplicity of God's love was so immenseful. It was so magnificent. It was so large. It was so simple. His love resonated through my whole soul. It engulfed me. It was intoxicating, but it was so simple, and it resonated with me, and it resonated with what I was doing previously on this earth. And I could just hear myself think and think and think over and over. I was doing it all wrong. I was doing it all wrong. And I was engulfed in the Lord, one with him in fullness. And I was saying to myself, I did it all wrong. I was doing it all wrong. We're forcing love moments and forcing to be kind and living in the flesh. The Lord just wants you to be genuine like him in fullness and automatically be kind. And I'll reflect on that later on how the Lord helps you in doing so. I have the Lord within me. He's resonating his love throughout me. He's also telepathically, instantaneously, since he's with me in fullness, he's resonating feelings and words, and then he's showing me my life reveal. And the life reveal is fluttering through pictures and pictures of pictures of all my interactions and all my devious ones and all my unbelievable Christ-like reactions, unbelievable love accounts. And he's fluttering it all through me, all through my soul, all the images, all the effects of everything I've done to other people, the words, the thoughts, the anger, the love, everything. And in the background, he's encapsulated my entire soul with his abundance, and I mean abundance love. But it was amazing to be able to witness the things that you do and said and how it affected other people. And then to have God's confirmation of his gloriousness and his grace within you throughout it. He's not telling you it's okay. He's just showing you. He's showing you what you did. He's showing you how you acted. And to me, you know, I got to a point in this state. I got to a point where I actually could think of for a second, because so much stuff is happening, like very quickly. And I got to a state where I could actually ask a question, and I don't remember the question, but I could remember the answer. I couldn't even think of the question. Just fractionally of a second, thinking of something, instantaneously he would answer it throughout my soul. It'd be like a no answer, you know, and it was telepathic response instantaneously.
I like how he's like, it would be a no answer. No, denied.
Throughout my soul of him saying no, which was remarkable that brought me back to being on Earth. He can hear he knows every single thought we do. He knows every thought. He knows every word we say.
He knows.
And he's showing me that encapsulated with him in fullness of the Lord's love, through answering me instantaneously, filling me with his love, going through all the things I've done and said and thought.
I think he's a little too, I'm not going to say it.
Showing me my thoughts, showing me my greed, showing me my passionate side, my love side, and still there in fullness. It was just incredible. Amazing. Incredible.
Absolutely incredible.
So like, I can't really place the word.
I couldn't respond to that one. I couldn't. All right, here we go. This is this is Natalie.
Amazing.
Incredible.
So like, I can't really place the words, the proper words, but it was an overabundance of a magnitude of just intense knowing, love, and an understanding that I've never been able to experience here on Earth as a human or whatever. And so from there, I have a guide that comes and I'm shown 3 lifetimes. And so the 3 lifetimes I'm shown are, the first one, I'm an older woman, a Caucasian lady, I'm an older woman, and I died due to a heart attack. I died in my bathroom floor due to a heart attack. I re-experienced that. Then I was shown a second lifetime. The second lifetime, I was a male, Asian male. I died due to open heart surgery. I was on the table and I died during an open heart surgery. The third lifetime was a young female. I died in the bathroom. My heart stopped. It was due to a ingestion of a poison. And so I asked, why am I being shown these lifetimes? And it was like a clear knowing that they wanted me to understand the importance of your love. It was all about love, more than just like saying you love someone. It was to understand that you are love and to be loved in everything you do, everything you say. Like, just remember love. And I was still confused a little bit.
Don't forget, it's all about love. And Earth is a perfect reflection, an absolute perfect reflection of that love.
Because I was like, well.
And God's just his destiny, its destiny, his amazement, his perfection of creation of the human race and everything that lives here in the dog-eat-dog world in which we all live in. It's all about love. You can see, children, men and women being bombed into submission. The animal kingdom being placed in factory farms. Humanity paying exorbitant prices at the gas pump and for groceries and for every goddamn thing on fucking this realm's existence. It's just a reflection of his love for all of us. You just cannot express God's beauty and devotion to each and every one of us.
I'm a loving
Amen.
person. Like, I don't have any enemies or anything. I try not to create chaos. Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm a loving person, or at least I thought I was. So then I got this understanding. He explains to me, like, when I said I don't understand, I feel like I'm a loving person. I got this download or knowledge of all the times that I was not a loving person. And then I was taken to another space. So we left the nature scene and then we're taken to another scene. And the next scene I'm taken to is I see 8 lights. They look like balls of light. And there's a big like projection screen. It looks like a projection screen with no surface. It just kind of was like an image there. These lights are all looking at the screen. And on the screen, is me in this current life. And I'm on the bathroom floor and I'm crying. And I know this moment that the lights are watching because it was my experience. And it was the time when I was married. Me and my spouse were trying to conceive a child. We weren't able to. He went and he got another female pregnant. So the scene that we were watching was the scene of the day when I found out.
Wait till you hear this, Cope. Look, I'm sorry. I just got to say it. Like, you know, Natalie, you seem like a sweet woman. You know, I appreciate you sharing your experience and everything, but I'm sorry. Just wait till you hear the heartbreak that she goes through. Just listen.
Married. Me and my spouse were trying to conceive a child. We weren't able to. He went and he got another female pregnant. So the scene that we were watching was the scene of the day when I found out about the other female being pregnant. And I'm watching and the lights are watching and he's just, you know, my guy's like, just watch. And I'm like, why do I have to see this?
Yeah,
you know,
just watch.
And he says, you know, just watch. So I'm watching. And
what
I'm
kind
on
of
the floor
sadistic shit is
crying,
this?
And I hear myself say, thank you for this pain. And I remember, why did I say thank you? It was
thank you for this pain, this suffering. Watching my boyfriend rail another woman. Thank you. It's so glorious. I love it. I mean, come on. This poor woman, this poor Natalie. Oh my God, my heart goes out to her. Oh my God. And the Matrix is like just dropping reverse psychology bombs all up over her. And she's like, okay, it's all right. I understand. All right, I'll watch my boyfriend get railed and because I can't produce a child. I mean, that's what we're talking about. I'm sorry if some of you don't like me being blunt about it, but that's the story. Okay? This is what she's conveying to all of us, right? And this is supposedly okay with the God source creator of this matrix. No big deal, right? Yeah. We would all love to see our you know, our wife or our husband, you know, get railed into submission and because we can't have a baby. Oh, sounds great. Sounds wonderful. Let's see what happens.
And I'm like, why do I have to see this? You know, I've already been through this.
Yeah, why?
Says,
exactly. You've already been through
so I'm
it.
watching,
Just
and I'm
watch.
on the floor
It's
and
a
I see
learning
my
experience.
crying, and I hear myself say, thank you for this pain. And I remembered, why did I say thank you? It was because I thought that I deserved the pain. I thought it was my karma. Maybe I had did some bad stuff, and this was karma's way of making it up to me. But I said thank you, and I was like, thank you, and don't ever let me forget. And I'm hearing myself say these words, and I'm feeling feeling at the same time. But then I hear them say, who will be the one to teach her this? Like, who will be the one to put her through this? And I see one of the lights.
That's so sick. Who will be the one to teach her this? Who will explain the errors of her ways? Because of our fault, mind you, let's not forget that the system created the fault of, this is really messed up to even say, but we're talking turkey here, right? Her meat suit was designed by the Matrix, by this so-called God source creator, this all-loving, amazing, incredible being, and it failed her. She could not have a child. And so apparently her husband, who I think is a douchebag, went and railed another woman. And what? What does that accomplish except hurt for her and the relationship that they're in? There is no positive that comes out of this. It's only hurt for her. But he got his rocks off. Right? Just saying. You know, like, I don't mince words. This is what you see is what you get.
Through this, and I see one of the lights and it comes forward, and I immediately know that that light that's coming forward is the same person that is my spouse in this lifetime. He don't look like him, but I know it's him. And he came forward and he said, I will do this for you. It was more than just me getting a knowing. It was also, I felt the love. And it felt like, I love you so much. I will do this for you as
Natalie.
love. And so to me, up until that point, I didn't realize how much I was holding on to that. Like, I didn't realize how much of that pain I was still holding on to. And I felt, once I was able to know and feel like, oh, I get it now. Because up until that point, that's not love. You know, you don't do that to people you love. And we had stayed together. Like, we got past it. And I said I had got past it, forgave him. Because like I said, I thought it was due to my own karma. And it was because I deserved to be in pain. But what I didn't know, that me blaming myself, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like, if you saying this is your karma, you're making it your own karma. So like, I got that clear understanding too. But I know it was total misunderstanding. I was wrong in my thoughts. But it was like, once I was able to feel that and had that clear knowledge and understanding, something was lifted off of me. So
Can we just talk about the gaslighting going on here by the Matrix? Can we please, for the love of Christ, of all that is holy, of grilled cheese Jeebus, the gaslighting that is occurring in this experience for poor Natalie?
But I know it was total misunderstanding. I was wrong in my thoughts. But it was like, once I was able to feel that and had that clear knowledge and understanding, something was lifted off of me. So I guess it was like a weight maybe, but it was, I don't know, I just felt something removed from me. I didn't even know it was there, but it was removed. And the next thing I know, I'm being slammed back into my body.
And Tony explained to me, I'm the one that takes you in and I bring you home. I'm one of your guardians, she said. And then she announced my second guardian. And soon as he said, hello, Billy, this was my brother's voice. My brother had died when I was very young. I was almost 16 years old. He was the one that very much took care of me growing up. But at that time, he said, it's time for your life review. And now he took me to this beautiful illuminated area. And now things start that is unbelievable. Now I'm back in my body. My brother Peter's alongside of me. And he's showing me events of my life. It was crystal clear because now I'm in full form. This is where I first remember who I was again, because I was just part of love and light and happiness and joy. And then it was almost like a flickering screen where he would bring me to events in my life. And they showed me all the events of my life, all the good events of my life, all the good that I've ever done, the good deeds that I've done for people, the taking care of my friends growing up, but on and on for the good. They showed me the good things I did in my life, the good things. And then all of a sudden now they showed me the wrong things that I've done in my life. And the wrong or bad, let's call it, things that I believe we all do in our lives at times. You don't only know what the wrong is when you're there experiencing that, you feel the hurt and pain that you actually put onto someone else. Like, I'll never forget the feeling I had when I left my first wife, and I'll never forget the feeling. That feeling became so emotionally strong for me now. On this side, I became her pain. I was part of the physical pain. The pain was so bad. On top of the pain being bad, the physical pain, the emotional pain that my son had. He was a little boy. And, you know, at the time I felt myself to be young and just dumb. I call, you know, people in life sometimes as we grow, we have to grow. And it takes time to grow. But the key fact is that I'm trying to explain in your life review, when you're experiencing those, you know, wrong things or bad things you might have done in your life, and you physically become the pain and you are the pain. I remember at one time they were showing me something where I physically became this pain again, and this emotional side. It was so bad that I just screamed, I can't take it anymore. Please, I'm sorry. please. And then I heard a voice, and the good outweighs the bad. And all of a sudden, all this gray left. And we were standing there.
That you're enveloped in love. And
Okay. So I do need to take a quick break. Won't be long, probably about 5-7 minutes. But I do want to also, before we go into break, give a big thank you to Take the Red Pill. He says, thanks, Mark. Sends a super chat. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you, and thank you. And Knack also sent a super chat. Says, so happy you're still here and keeping this subject alive. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. And thank you to all of you who support the channel. And just so you know, we do have monthly member live streams available if you're interested. You check out the description tab. And we usually meet the last Sunday of every month. That does change a few times a year, but there's a big back catalog of videos that comes with the membership. And we'll be meeting again on the Sunday, April 26th at around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so let me just let the beast out, and I'll be right back. I appreciate you all. So just give me 5 to 7, 5 to 8 minutes, somewhere around there, and I'll see you shortly, okay? Thanks for tuning in, and we got a few more cases to get through. Actually, a number of cases to get through. We're about halfway through. So thank you so much, and we'll be right back. Thank you. patience. Coming back. And just as a reminder, this channel is available on Odyssey, Rumble, and YouTube. You can find notifications about what's going on in the channel on Facebook, Twitter, and what's the other one? Instagram. All right, well, let's get right back into it. And there are memberships available if you're interested. Feel free to check out the description tab for more information. Level 2 and higher gets monthly member live streams and access to the Last Timers Club Discord server, as well as an archive and, of course, the end of year member appreciation stream. I'm really good at advertising myself. That sound good, guys? I'm the worst at promoting myself. Okay, here we go. All right, let's get serious now. Here we go. All right.
And we were standing there.
Okay, so just so you know, we're going to be going into Norma Edwards' case. Norma Edwards.
Eloped in love and this beautiful light that seems to make everything not only brilliant, but even the thoughts very brilliant. And the next thought I had was, how do I get around here? As soon as I had that thought, I found myself traveling, and I came to a point where I am facing what looked like a large television screen. Now, in the 1960s, television screens were very small. The screen lit up, and once it lit up, it was divided into 3 sections. Section on the left had a heading that says, "The life that I had created." The second column was the way I had lived the 26 years, and the third column at that point was blank. So I'm looking at one column that says, this is your life as you had planned it. The middle column is, this is your life as you have lived it for the past 26 years. And the third column is blank. And then the screen begins to scroll. As the screen begins to scroll, now I can see what it is that I planned. And in the middle column now, I'm looking at and revising how I have lived this objective that I set for myself. And then when I turn my eyes to the last column, it said, objective not accomplished. And then it scrolled up a bit more. And now I'm out of childhood and I'm more into my teenage days. And again, I can see on the left-hand side the objectives that I had set in my plan and what it is that I should have accomplished during those years. Believe it or not, I don't feel judgmental. There's nobody judging what I'm reviewing. But now I'm amused because I'm thinking, I lived for 26 years. How could I not have known what it is that I had set for myself? And the fact that it seemed that I had lived the complete opposite to what was contained in my life's objective. And the column on the third side really amused me because at the end of each segment, objectives not accomplished, objectives not accomplished. And I'm standing there and I'm thinking, wow, that was kind of sort of a wasted life. And there were things that were.
So you have a realization that, oh, that was kind of a wasted life. Well, what does that say? Like, what is a wasted life? Think about what goes into someone going through the motions of coming here, right? It's a big undertaking. This isn't some small little fly-by-night operation. This is huge, right? So regardless of whether you're living a few years or 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, it will reset itself. something is really wrong with that picture. So just throwing it out there. Think about it.
Wasted life. And there were things that I reviewed in the life I had just left, that answered some of my questions about life on earth. You see, I was a child who had many, many questions. I was raised in the Christian tradition, deeply, deeply centered in the Christian religion. And I had many, many questions about biblical texts. And so now I am looking at the way I live my life, and I am discovering that while I believed a lot of what was taught to me, it did not seem to have transferred into my knowing. Now, there was one piece of scripture that bothered me since I was 9 years old. And that piece of scripture was the piece of scripture where Christ said, I came so that you can have life and have it more abundantly. And I asked every pastor I ever encountered, well, what did Christ mean by that? Because he came, he himself died on a cross, and people have been dying ever since. So what did that mean? Or did it mean that when I asked the pastor whether it meant that Christ was perhaps telling us a lie, my mother drew me aside and very carefully said to me that I was not to even look in the pastor's direction while we were in church. Neither was I allowed to ask any questions, because my questions was beginning to embarrass the pastor from whom I was seeking answers. And so I started to write my questions down.
Okay, let me share an interesting moment. I think I've shared this maybe 1 or 2 times on the channel. Some of you may have heard it. When my dad was dying, he was gone. Like, he was, like I really couldn't communicate with him. It was very, like, any communication that I had with him was on a very, very, I hate to say it, but like a mundane level. Because he had a rare brain disease that just took every bit of his essence away. And there was a time, I think it was Easter, where I guess I'll try and hold back here and not be as spiteful, but let's just say the steaming pile of shit that my dad dated in his later years got my dad into a local church, which I had actually visited with him. And, the congregation seemed fine. No big deal. But this priest is invited over on, I think it was, I'm almost positive it was Easter. It was a major holiday. And I'm sitting next to the priest. And I start, he's like leading, grace and all that bullshit. And I'm just like, yeah. And so after we eat, I start grilling about the Book of Enoch and reincarnation, and he just freezes up on me and wouldn't have a conversation with me at all. And we're talking about someone who's supposedly a spiritual man and all this stuff. And I'm just kind of throwing this out there as something to chew on. Like, if you're still in the hooks of religion, it's okay if you are. It's all right. Like, I've been there. I've gone through all sorts of different processes myself. And it's okay. Like, you gotta, I really feel you gotta learn yourself out of those things and ask the big questions. And I was presented with an opportunity to ask big questions to someone who is a perceived authority figure, and he crumbled right in front of me and could not answer me. Like, at all. So that begs the question, who are these people, right? Who is he to dictate to a large congregation if he can't answer simple questions about specific texts, books, whatever you want to call them, being omitted from the Bible? These are things he should be well informed on, well read on, and be able to answer them with no problem. And I got none of that. None of it. And my dad was dying at the time. He was literally in the stages of death. It was one of the last moments I had with him where he had some level of lucidity. So again, make of all this what you will, but the system is designed in such a way for us to put priests and monks and this and that on these pedestals. When they are in fact confronted, they crumble under pressure. Well, that doesn't help, right? All they would have to say to please me in that moment is like, look, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not. It was hidden from me too. Or you don't even have to say that. You could just say, hey, I just don't know. Maybe share what you have read with me. See, what that does is it exposes in that moment that someone lacks the ability to critically think and ask questions, right? That's what it did for me in that moment. And, again, this is like a personal thing that happened, but it was during a crucial moment and a crucial time with someone who I cared about very, very much, right? And this supposed individual that I'm talking to is, supposed to be dare I say, an authority figure, right? On spirituality. And he crumbled under the simplest pressure. And I kept kind of needling him to give me an answer, and he just couldn't. He just couldn't. Anyways, just thought I'd share that. Make of it what you will.
This one question, as the review of the 26 years of my life came to an end, the question popped into my mind. And this burning question, and it seems to me like the burning question now took me to the Akashic record. The Akashic record is the record of everything that has happened in the worlds. And notice I said worlds, not just this world. And the outcome and what it has produced in terms of energy in our lives. So now I am drawn to an even bigger screen. And as I stand before the screen begins to scroll very slowly. And I'm now reviewing 6 previous lifetimes that I have lived. The very first one is in the very, very, very dark ages, when Earth was very dark and human beings walked around with torches. And I see myself in that lifetime, and there is tribal war. And the village in which I lived at the time, they were losing. They were in the losing end of the war, and they had some very deep concerns about the fact that if women and children died in the war, they would be hard pressed to be able to rise again. So they mustered as many little boats as they had, and they put us women and children in these boats, and they pushed the boats out to sea with what little food they had, in the hope that we would be preserved. The boat that I was in had 23 other women, and it sank, and we all drowned, which left within me fear of water and a fear of drowning. The next life that I envisioned was a life as a male. I was a male and I was a warrior, and seemed pretty good at it too. Then the third life that I encountered, I was one of the women who were at the bulrushes when Moses was pulled out of the water. Another lifetime I lived, I was present when saw myself at the cross as a spectator, screaming, "Crucify."
I just want to send out my love and compassion and empathy to Jazzy Cat. Says it's funny, a few months ago after my mother passed away, I did sense her presence. My brother said the same. They're not allowed to communicate, are they? For obvious reasons. I did feel her presence. And I haven't sensed anything since. It was a little spooky, though. Reincarnated by now, maybe? Well, I don't know, but I just, want to send my condolences and I'm sorry you lost your mother, and my condolences to you and your brother and your family.
Him. Did you get out of the water? Another lifetime I lived, I was present when saw myself at the cross as a spectator, screaming, "Crucify him." Which again brought a lot of guilt. We live in a guilt-ridden world that put a lot of guilt.
Yeah, it's a fear, guilt, shame system. We've talked about this since day one on this channel. That is the entire synopsis of how this place functions. Fear, guilt, shame. Fear, guilt, shame. Those are the things that try to overtake our mental capacity and understanding. But it's designed that way on purpose. That's the difference. It's not some fly-by-night operation. This is something that is planned and executed to the T to make sure that we comply and fall into its grasps.
Which again brought a lot of guilt. We live in a guilt-ridden world that put a lot of guilt on my soul and on my spirit. And the lifetime that really, really stood out phenomenally for me was to see myself along with my parents, who were slaves in the United States of America, picking cotton. I was a child, and along with my parents, we were in the fields picking cotton. And as a child, I could hear the hooves of the horse, and I can also hear the crack of the whip as it hit the backs of those slaves who were not producing or working as swiftly as they could. And again, experienced tremendous fear, knowing that when the master man got to me as a child, I could not keep up with my quota, and the fear of feeling the whip on my back. And then the screen moved, and when it moved, I was at the next life. And believe it or not, I was the white slave owner on a horse, carrying the whip, and doing exactly to the slaves that which I was so very much afraid of. That one baffled me because I had never been introduced to reincarnation. That was not part of my religious upbringing. And so I was more than a little baffled. How could I be at one point in time a black slave girl, and at another point in time and history, I could have been the white slave master. So the scrolling came to an end.
I did not have a life review during my NDE, but I did have sort of a mini life review into another person's life.
All right, so just so you know, we're looking, I believe, at the case of Amphinata. I'm sorry, but that's what I have written down.
So my stepmother was very we had a very hard relationship, and there was some sort of abusive things that happened, and so during my NDE, I was shown her life, and I was shown into her heart, and I was shown things that, to be honest, I can't remember everything I was shown. That was kind of taken away, that memory
I don't know about some of you guys out there, but my stepmother had zero art. So, like, it was non existent. Just saying. You may run across those people in your life. And my stepmother was one of them.
Some things that, to be honest, I can't remember everything I was shown. That was kind of taken away. That memory was taken away when I came back. But at the time, I could see it all very clearly. So I can't give you specific incidents that I saw in her life because that's been veiled again. But I did see whatever it was that I saw.
It's been veiled again. It's been veiled again. All right, so it's been veiled. So that means, this is the crazy thing, and I'm not even at all talking about her or anyone else, but it's about the collective of information out there and experiencer cases who come back and they talk. It's not that they talk with such authority. It's like they talk with a huge personal experience that I totally get. And I'm not judging them at all for this because they have been taken through the matrix system and squeezed out like an orange through an orange juicing machine, right? And given this love bomb or this perception about what is, and then they come back here and they are courageous enough to share the experience that they have. That's really important, right? But what they do is they propagate the matrix system for individuals like us who are looking into their experiences and consuming who knows how many hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of experiences that we've gone through, right? But at the end of the day, all they're really doing is propagating the matrix systems and authenticating them, right? This is no different than the shamans in the woods, right? Before, I guess we can say humanity was industrialized, right? Or whatever, however you want to frame it, right? It is literally no different. So the word that would spread amongst humanity on the internet is no different than the word that would spread amongst the tribes in the Amazon, right? Or amongst the natives or whatever you want, however you want to term it, right? It doesn't matter. This system customizes everything to the individual, and there is also a marketing department behind it. We've shown that to be the case who knows how many times over. And it just doesn't let up. It's just continually presenting itself as an authority figure or an excuse train. It's just like excuses. Meanwhile, it is involved with some of the most diabolical, anti-human, anti-true essence being, anti-everything that you can think of. And yet, people cross over. They experience the love bomb. They experience the light. They come back here and they do the bidding of the matrix system themselves without even knowing it. And that's the key difference between consuming, going through NDEs. Look, if you're new or otherwise on the fence about all this, I've been there. I think I would bet huge amounts of money that pretty much everyone in the chat has been where I am, where you are, where everyone is, right? Where they take it in and like you find some solace, some inner peace within NDE testimonies, because what it does is it whitewashes the reality of what's going on here. It explains the fucking insanity that occurs here. But it doesn't. That's the thing. And until you sit back and like you analyze your like everything you've looked into and you say to yourself, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. This narrative keeps presenting itself. It's literally the afterlife, the NDEs, all this stuff is quite literally a indoctrination system to get us to believe in it. And as I talked about in the beginning of the stream, all that it does is, all that it's concerned about, I should say, is about getting you to believe in its bullshit just long enough until you die off and eventually reincarnate and are memory wiped. So once you're memory wiped, you end up back here and you have zero or a very, very small percentage of a recollection of the horrors that you once lived or have lived in multiple lives. That's the difference. And I'll go back even to the beginning of the stream again and say, hey, I'm not claiming I know all the answers or I have all the answers. All I'm saying is something is really fucking rotten here. And in what happens here clearly connects and works with something over there in the astral realm, let's say, right? That's the difference. There is a clear-cut connection between both realms, and they are desperately getting us to believe in it and believe in the bullshit that it's peddling. So I ask, again, I'm not pretending to be some Mr. Know-it-all that has all the answers. I know I don't. This place is a mystery wrapped in a fucking enigma times a million, right? There are plenty of answers we just don't know and will never know. But this is the beauty of breaking down experiencer types and experiencer cases. You can look at all this stuff and say, well, a certain narrative is being pushed to me here, but I've lived on Earth. I'm experiencing Earth as we speak, and it's the complete fucking opposite. And then we can go a step further and say, all right, well, we can even wash all of that aside, right? Wash all of it aside. No big deal. If you need to kind of like wrestle with yourself and your ideas and your inner conflicts, I get it. I've been there. I think everybody's been there, right? But the bottom line is there is nothing inherently wrong with you claiming your sovereignty for yourself through non-interference and liberation, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And if you are wrong, if I'm wrong, if we're all wrong, we'll find out. But the alternative is investing in blind belief that this system is as advertised, and then just handing yourself over to it on a silver platter. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense for us to give up so much for something that could potentially be so dangerous to our true essence. What we are living through, what this realm has proved itself to be, is one big, fat, fucking Broadway play on steroids. And all we got to do is just say, no, I'm not complying. I'm not getting involved with any of your fuckery, and I'm doing my own thing. That's it. And see what happens. hell, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're all wrong. Maybe this place is I mean, I can't imagine it in any possible way, but maybe this place is some big, amazing love and light experience. I mean, come on. But that's the thing. It's like, I'm trying to reach the individual who's on the other end listening to this, asking the question, saying like, well, like, but all the evidence in NDEs kind of point to this. They point to that. They point that, like, we're all like part of some plan, some soul group, some amazing crusade at the behest of God himself or itself, right? This is what NDEs advertise to all of us. But not many question it, right? And there's a whole system in play for those who leave their body, die on, what would be considered dying, losing their heartbeat, coming back to life, and propagating their story, their incredible experience with all of us who are still amongst the matrix living in the physical. It is a propaganda system within a propaganda system. That's what it seems like. Am I right? Am I wrong? I don't fucking know. I'm not going to pretend to say that I know. I have no clue. But when you put up against all of the bullshit and the fuckery that happens in this realm, and you seriously give it the look that it deserves, the side eye that it deserves, it really speaks for itself. It does. What is advertised in the astral realm could not be a further polar opposite about what's going on here when we're living here. It's so in our face. They're completely different systems, and they exist as one, they work as one, and they propagate as one. So take Jesus, take Muhammad, take Buddha, take all the bullshit deities out of the equation, take the soul group, and this is the hard part for, I think, many of us, right? We lose loved ones. We love our friends. We love our family, right? At least some of us do, right? And we want what's best for them. And some of them passed before us. And they are literally used as tools to keep us buying and believing into the bullshit of the system. And I will go a step further in saying that I do not believe whatsoever that those who are pretending or putting on a facade as our deceased loved one, friends, family, pets, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, it doesn't matter who the fuck it is, those who are putting on that facade in the afterlife, in an NDE, whatever, right? They are not who they claim to be. And that seems to line up, in my opinion, perfectly. Because it goes part and parcel to what we are experiencing by existing within this realm, and how this place functions, how this place deceives, and how it works in unison with the lower earth astral, or the astral realms in which it's a link to. All right? Again, am I saying definitively that I know hands down that this is the case? No. And anyone who makes such claims is full of shit. So if you run across a channel who makes such claims, fuck them. They're full of shit. They don't know what they're talking about, right? I'm just saying the evidence is stacked way, way, way against the Matrix and the fuckery that it's involved with versus what existence is and what you experience, what I experience, what we do in the day-to-day existence, right? Those things are blatantly in front of us. We live them every day. We know what they are every day. And you may even have moments where you're able to leave your body and be able to fully prove to yourself the power of intention and how and what it can do. And that you can rid yourself of certain situations or all situations if that's what you desire. So that goes to a further point, and that further point is the power within each of us as creator beings through intention. But once we give ourselves over to the sensory addiction, the soul group, the karma, etc., that's it. This place wins. So why not strip all that bullshit bare and take accountability for who and what you are as an individual? Just like me. I'm taking account of me as an individual and saying, no, I'm not just going to blindly believe what the system is selling me. It's that simple. I may be wrong. And I'm willing to admit that. I may be wrong. I'm fine with that, right? But I don't know. Right now, there is a mountain of evidence to suggest that I've been fucked with for who knows how many lifetimes. There's enough there to suggest that I keep falling for this bullshit. And I'm done with it. But I'm not just going to blindly trust NDEers or OBEers or breakthrough trippers or any of this stuff that, like, you know, everything is love and light and that, like, it's all about a learning experience and karma and blah, blah, blah. No. What if I just say no? What if I just say no to all of that? That's the difference. And this system doesn't want that. It doesn't want individuals like you and I to stand up for ourselves and say, fuck you. It doesn't want that. And it's a professional at making us feel lower than low and distracting us beyond fucking belief to the point where you start twiddling your thumbs and questioning your existence. How am I going to pay this? How am I going to pay that? Yeah, we're all in the same boat. We're all in this fucking insane asylum together. But you know what? It's all about degrading us as individuals, taking us away from who and what we are. Well, guess what? Once this lifetime's over, it has nothing left. It has no power over us. That's it. That's the difference. It has nothing left to offer you, me, or anyone else who is perceptive to its fucking bullshit. Anyways, rant over. Sorry.
Was taken away when I came back. But at the time, I could see it all very clearly. So I can't give you specific incidents that I saw in her life because that's been veiled again. But I did see whatever it was that I saw again when I peered into her whole life. And it happened within an instant. I saw what a beautiful soul she is, how brave she is. I saw that she had been mistreated and abused. And I saw how all of the bad behavior and cruelty that I felt from her was purely because of, once again, purely because of her fear. And I found myself not only forgiving her, there actually, after seeing everything so clearly and seeing why she was the way she was and who she really was on a soul level, after seeing that, there wasn't even a need to forgive her. It was just a big, oh, I get it now. You know, like just total compassion and understanding for her and love total love for her. And on top of that, I admired her. So I went from feeling victimized and feeling like she was not a nice person and not a good person. I went from that to completely changing it and admiring her. And that was very powerful. And I've always remembered that now. So whenever I see someone behaving badly or being cruel or acting out of this or that fear, I look at them as fearful, and I see them as I try to see them as God sees them, which is the way God showed me what my stepmother was really like and why she was the way she was. So God knows everything we've been through, or God understands us into the tiniest details of our lives, knows everything about why we are the way we are, why we're grumpy, why we may have certain survival mechanisms that are malfunctioning, and why we're addicts, why we are having trouble in certain areas of our lives. God understands all of it.
Oh, yeah.
And if only we could see that. If
only we can see that God, source, creator, whoever the hell it is responsible for creating this faulty meat suit. Oh, what about that? How does this conversation never come up within experiencers? We talk about it all the time. But how the fuck does this conversation not come up? Think about it. It's like, oh, well, everything is God's perfection. It's His glory. It's amazing. No, bullshit. It's like the amount of faults built within the human meat suit are fucking endless. Absolutely endless.
Only we could see everyone the way God sees them.
Oh, please.
I can't even imagine how that would change the world, because there wouldn't be as much blame and fault finding. There would be much
fault finding. Well, okay. I'm gonna shut my mouth before I explode.
Much more just
fault finding.
Raw compassion for people.
Compassion is
and
good.
Love and understanding and clarity and less arguing and all of that.
I felt a detachment from my body. My body all of a sudden felt like it was this heavy thing and it was breaking away, and I was detaching. I didn't open my eyes. I just didn't even move. Like I said, it hurt to do anything. So I didn't even move. And then I see this big flood of light, and the big flood of light turns into beams. And the closest thing that I can describe it to is the Northern Lights. That it's pretty much identical, that it's one light, it's the different colors, but there's ones that get brighter and then more dim and brighter, more dim. And so it was going up to that. And then I became a beam. As I became a beam, things started falling away. These aren't things like my actual physical body, but in that detachment process, what was falling away was the downside of duality. I'll explain that a little bit more in a second, but the downside of duality. So anger, that went first. It just evaporated. Sadness, fears, regrets. Regrets was actually the last one. So I'll get back to that too. Just anything, any bad feeling that you've ever had, any kind of depression, jealousy, rage, all of it just drops away. And as each of those things drops away, that's when you're detaching from your body. And you become one of these beams of light. The last one to go was regret. Now what's happening is that life review. But it's not, there's no one else involved. I don't know the time. I don't know how long that it took for this, because you just lose your entire physical. But in the life review, you're seeing the different times in your life that you, because of your life on earth, you made a difference in someone else's life that caused a positive ripple. You see the opposite too. You see the times in your life when you really hurt someone, whether by deceit, whether by just not caring about them, indifference, anything, just being mean to them, but things that really affected them, especially the ones where you may not have considered that it really affected them as much as it did. Not only do you see all these things in the life review, you feel them from their perspective. Yeah, that's a big one. So you feel the effects that you had on other people during your time on Earth. And that's the hardest one because it feels so heavy. You don't regret so much when people were mean to you or when people took advantage of you, but that feeling of regret is so strong on how you affected other people. So that one then, it kind of hangs on for a while. And then you're in a space where all that's left is love. There's nothing else. Everything, even compassion is part of love. Appreciation is part of love. Value, joy, happiness, bliss, all of those are a part of love. So the only thing that's left is love. And that's why when people say, oh, love and light, there's actually a reason for that. That's all that there is. You become a beam of light. And this is how, on the other side, you're connected, but you're still separate. You become a beam of light, not separated anymore to any other person.
Unlike others, I didn't have a go through a tunnel experience. I didn't have what others refer to as a life review. My life review appeared to me in the feeling of being in this place that felt like a tomb, that was the most beautiful experience, and again, the most loving. And as soon as that settled, it was as if my whole 38 years flashed before me. There were all these experiences that appeared to have happened in my 38 years. We call them good, bad, right, wrong, sinful, or just. And what I noticed was none of that was playing out here. It was almost like watching a slideshow that I was reliving. It wasn't outside of me. I was re-experiencing it with each entity, but it happened in what appeared to be seconds. And every single part was celebrated. And each part, even those we call the most painful, are too, in fact, beautifully orchestrating themselves. And the celebration was after each one. It wasn't just what we...
You notice how she uses the word orchestrating themselves? It's like sometimes you run across certain terminology and like you can just kind of overlook it and say, hey, you know, whatever, right? Yeah, like you won't even think twice about it. But orchestrating, that means putting on a show for you or for somebody. Orchestrating. Like
each part,
you run across, again, certain phrases, words, whatever, that expose the matrix in many ways. And there are so many examples of this.
It was almost like watching a slideshow that I was reliving. It wasn't outside of me. I was re-experiencing it with each entity, but it happened in what appeared to be seconds. And every single part was celebrated. And each part, even those we call the most painful, are too, in fact, beautifully orchestrating themselves. And the celebration was after each one. It wasn't just what we call the good stuff. I now refer to this as my soul plan. These life exchanges or soul plans, some of which I was able to be with the energies that had caused harm to myself, one significant one. At the age of 3, I was by my paternal grandfather. And he was one of the entities that I was able to experience and heal so much, obviously, with. There was such a willingness for that to be healed and known. And then there was such a willingness to understand that he too was part of my soul family and here supporting me and rooting for me and cheering me on in all the life experiences, including the one that we had, which was so painful. So beautifully, many of these things seem to have played out. And again, I can't refer to how long I spent in this beautiful structure having these experiences, but it felt like seconds. It felt like just seconds.
And I realized everything had a spirit. The trees, rocks, the planets, the universe. And all these spirits were different, but they were all connected. There was a commonness. And I began to realize that we are all connected. Everything is connected. And what I began to understand is that the creator and the creation are one. And so that was the first lesson that I learned there, is we're all connected. And then
that is the first lesson that I learned. It's like, okay, this is indoctrination class 101. This is what you're going to learn. I am king. You will abide by my rules, and that's all there is to it. I mean, come on. Again, it's just like blind consent to this fuckery that is the Matrix Reincarnation Soul Trap.
Next experience I had is that I've later learned to be a life review. And what I did is I reviewed all the things that happened in my life. Not that I was living them, or not that I was seeing them as a voyeur, but almost as if I was everywhere, that I was part of everything. And I was aware of everything that went on. And I was aware of every thought that everyone had around me in every situation. And
one of the cringiest things that I continually hear from people who make claims about going outside the body, especially when you're talking about like DMT or breakthrough trip experiences, they make these big claims like, oh, well, you know, it just is what it is. It's okay. You know, it's like I'm at the mercy of something else, and that's all there is to it. Meanwhile, they're not having an organic experience. Then that's not to shun or ridicule anyone who has such an experience, but it's more or less a way to say, hey, like having an organic out-of-body experience is way different than something that is drug-induced. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. And anyone who tells you different is lying. I mean, that it's that simple. And it's something to keep in mind. Like, it doesn't mean that they didn't have a profound, amazing, incredible experience. It just means that they're maybe overblowing what they went through. That's all. Again, it's not to take away from their own reality, their own experience. It's just don't allow them to nestle a spot in your mind where they take it over. That's all.
All of a sudden, my life took on new meanings. Every interaction I had, I saw that it was different for everyone else there. Everyone had their own purpose for being in every situation. And so when I reviewed my life, I would learn so many things about new situations. And I'd learned so much wisdom from my experiences. And then when I completed my life review, my awareness was raised. And then I would do my life review again. Now I could look at my life review with a new set of eyes, with my increased awareness. And that went on time and time again. But as I began to address very, very deep and dark pains in my life, each time I overcame that dark episode, I would feel bliss. I would feel enlightened. I would feel like this big weight was lifted off me because I had an understanding of the meaning and the message, and that fueled my spiritual growth and my happiness. For me, the beauty was in being free from all the pains of life. It's that it was just, imagine that you had no anxiety. You weren't angry with anybody. You didn't have any hate or jealousy towards anybody. No one felt that way about you. And it was blissful each time, no matter how difficult that life review was going to be. I knew at the end, I would feel bliss. And then when I stopped learning, I moved on to the next situation.
The closest thing that I had to a life review was this hand came out, only it was like this. And there was like a large card deck on it. And a card fell off and turned itself over so I could see the face card. And so that would be like if you put this camera on pause and it created a picture. And so then when I saw that picture, I recognized who I was, not in this lifetime, in another lifetime. And there were principal players of people that I had had impact on in that life for benefit or harm, whether it was intentional or not. That however I had dramatically affected these people, they were there in that frame. And I experienced myself as I was. It was as though I, just seeing and recognizing that I was of them. I had their full, complete history of experience, so I had true knowing. And each person that was there, I had true knowing of them and could feel and see and know their context and their perspective of their hurt or their joy, their gifting from me, whatever it was. And another card fell. And each one of these, I managed to keep up and remember for about 3 lives. And then by the time I was at 5, I went, okay, I don't think I'm going to be able to hold all this information. And I couldn't. But I was able to experience, it was probably about 15 of these cards that fell. And it was made known to me as that each one of these lives had contributed to the things I had chosen.
They've contributed to the things she's chosen. And that goes to what? The whole karma thing. It goes to the whole rigmarole of her being, the carrot and the stick. The carrot's hanging and dangling in front of her, and she's just chasing it and chasing it and chasing it. And meanwhile, she's got just a little bit of hope, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, nestled within her and her soul group. And the Matrix just says, fuck it. Send her back down. The entire system that is presented as advertised is completely diabolical. It's completely, I'm trying to think of the word. It slaps us in the face. I'm trying to think of a better word for it, but what it does is it really just it slaps all of us in the face, and in ignorance, and we've just continually fallen for it for who knows how many lifetimes. Who knows how many regions we've visited and been involved with. Earlier in the stream. This is like, I had this very, very profound thing. I've shared it a couple times on the channel. And it is ingrained in my head about a past life. And I would love to find an artist who can do like a rendition of this so I can kind of just show you what I experienced and what I felt. But this is a past life which I assume to be in China, in a field. Like my wife and my many children, I would say 4 or 5 plus children, right? Maybe more. I have this snapshot in my head, and I connect with it on such a level that like this is not bullshit. And we have basically like a small, it's like a shack. It's kind of a big shack. But like we're all living in essentially one room together. And I'm sitting, just imagine something like an Irish pub. or any sort of bar where you're sitting on a stool, looking outside a window, and it's a cloudy, rainy environment, and it's me, my wife, and about 4 or 5 children, all sitting at like a bar top, right? But everything like you're looking at, as far as the eye can see, is essentially a field. A field of wheat, crops, something like that, right? Like wheat connected with me. And there's literally nothing else but wheat fields. Or whatever it was, right? And the fog is dense, and we're as poor can be. And this is something I connect with on such a deep level. It can't be bullshit. It just can't. Like, I have such a strong connection to this past life as what I would assume to be a Chinaman with a wife and 4 or 5 plus kids in a shack, and we, pull crops for who knows what. I don't know. And it's a foggy, damp, light rain type situation. That's all I can share with you. I don't have anything else to say besides that. I connect with that. Whether you believe it or not, I don't care. This is something I connect with. And it seemed like if I close my eyes, I can envision it perfectly. And we are poor as poor can be, struggling beyond comprehension. And again, make of that what you will. I don't know. Why do I have that connection? Why do I have a connection where I've also shared this, where growing up, I had a very close connection with my grandmother, and she was obsessed with Egypt. Obsessed. And she got me obsessed with Egypt. And I did some regression work, and I recall a time where I was working for a middle-class family in Egypt as a slave, but they didn't treat me like a complete piece of shit. But the bottom line is I was a slave. I worked for some upper middle-class nobility, let's say, right? And I have a huge connection with that. And then when I look back at the connection that I had with my grandmother over Egypt and things, it's like, what? Again, I'm just throwing this stuff out there. What do I know? I'm not saying it's true or false or anything. I'm just saying it's out there. And it deeply resonated with me decades ago with her. Like, we had this odd connection. And then as I grew older, I had that connection with the Chinese wife and family and children, and in like a musty, rundown, poor as poor can be setting, right? That's just something I have. And I connect with it heavily. There's some other things I've talked about too, but I'm not going to drone on about them. But the bottom line is, I know I've been here before. I know, without any doubt in my mind, that I've been here. I don't know how many times I've been here. That's up for debate. All that's on the field, and what it is, I don't know. But it shouldn't have to be like this, right? It shouldn't have to be where I have to get these fragments of memories to identify my existence in previous lifetimes. I think that's fucked up. We should have access to all of our memories, no matter what. That should be part and parcel to our existence within this fucking insane asylum, to the fine print that we sign before we walk through the door. That's all I'm saying. Whether you agree with me or not, doesn't matter. It's just something is really wrong here, and it's up to us to break it down and open ourselves up to the possibility that this could be one big fat fucking deception. That's it. And everything points in that direction. I don't want it to be that way. I don't think any of us want it to be that way. But it proves itself over and over and over again. And then when you have like a deep connection within about a likely past life that you've had, and you feel emotion and love and empathy and compassion for this situation that you're viewing from an exterior perspective, that goes way beyond just some sort of vision you might have. Words can't describe it. It's like you just know that you lived that before. And again, I don't care who believes me or doesn't. I don't give a shit. Like, to me, it's like this is something that I connect with on a huge level. And, I'll go out and say I appreciate that I was able to connect to that. And it meant a lot to me. A number of the past lives that I've connected to. But the number of past lives that I've connected to pale in comparison to the likely situation that I've probably been here many times. Again, can I say that definitively and swear up and down and say, yes, believe me. No. But something deep within tells me that these are things I've experienced and I resonate with them highly. When you resonate with something, you just know. And I'm sharing it here with you today. I've shared it in the past, some of this in the past, and make of it what you will. But I just know I've been through this bullshit before. And until we all wake up, it's just one endless ball and chain that the Matrix tries to hurl at us.
To learn, clear up, move through, refine in this lifetime.
And I went back through the tunnel, and I looked down at my physical body, and I didn't even care about me now. It wasn't like this panic to save me at the beginning. This was like, I don't care about me. It doesn't matter that I'm dead. This is wonderful. I haven't felt this good in my whole life. This is just terrific. So as positive as I thought my life was,
I haven't felt this good in my whole life. Doesn't that speak volumes, my friends? I haven't felt this good in my whole life. But yet she's having NDE and it's all love and light. It's wonderful. And, the horrors of the physical body, of the meat suit experience are, way behind her. But she can still compare them. But because she's in a certain state at the moment, she doesn't necessarily know any better, because the Matrix does a very good job at blurring the lines, blurring the perception that one has going through something like an NDE. It's like, oh yeah, hey, fuck you. You know, we're gonna give you the carrot and the stick, and you know, and then we're gonna jam it right up your ass. I mean, this is what happens. You know, I know my wording isn't politically correct or fun or all that stuff. It's fine, and I don't care. It's like if you can't handle how I talk, no big deal. Move along. But you know, like we're dealing with a serious topic here. This isn't some bullshit. You're getting your balls busted as a teenager or in an elementary school or middle school. You know, this is real existence in diving deep into the essence of reality. That's the difference. So just listen to what she has to say.
My physical body, and I didn't even care about me now. It wasn't like this panic to save me at the beginning. This was like, I don't care about me. It doesn't matter that I'm dead. This is wonderful. I haven't felt this good in my whole life. This is just terrific. So as positive as I thought my life was, having the best house, the best car, the best job, you know, a professional clarinetist, all the wonderful things that people might dream of, a wonderful, loving family. I was very fortunate. And I'm looking at my life thinking, wow, I don't care. And I wonder why, but I can't replace that feeling with an analytical thought. I know I no longer care about my body. And I go back through the tunnel again, and the woman asks me every emotion that is negative. Have you ever been in this world without anger? Have you ever been in this world without war, without grief, without everything that's negative, every emotion, even ones I never.
So basically, she's being trolled by the Matrix. Have you ever not had a negative thought? Have you never had a negative emotion? Blah, blah, blah. Are you fucking kidding me? If you are within the makeup of the human experience, you're going to have that experience, period, point blank. There's nothing taking that away. There's nothing that is going to ever exist where you don't experience that at some point. From early on, too. This is the Matrix trolling her at her best. I mean, it is absolutely disgusting. Diana is being trolled by the Matrix, and just like, la, 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 no big deal. Like, but it's not her fault. It's just that she's going through her thing in this lifetime, and it just happens to be a representative of the Matrix marketing department. It's not her fault. It just happens to be the situation that she's involved with, and she's doing their bidding unknowingly. Again, don't harass someone like Diana or anyone in this video that we've gone over today. It's just, you know, they got to find themselves just like we found ourselves.
Have you ever been in this world without anger? Have you ever been in this world without war, without grief, without everything that's negative, every emotion, even ones I never experienced? And I said no. And each one I answered separately. So it was like answering hundreds of questions simultaneously, all at the same time, all telepathically. And I said no. So I was so torn. As much as I wanted to go into the light and I knew I had that option, I was still deciding. And I find myself looking over my physical body out of the tunnel again. And I looked down and I said exactly these words from the ceiling. I said, how sad she's done so very little. And this was from a lady who thought I'd done a great deal with my life. And I think when the spirit looks from those eyes, we look at our life in a very different way. It is the very first time we really can tell what we really did. Is what we move with our mouth or what we said, did it really count? Did it change a person's life in a positive way? And if it didn't, how can you come back and make that happen again?
And then it dawned on me that the entire time I had been watching my own death. And as I did, I went into this spiral of fear that how could I be so dumb to not know that everything I've been watching was me and my own death. And then instantaneous, almost in a snap, I started to see all the bad things I ever did. And I mean all, like even as a little small child, anything that was selfish or negative influence on someone else, I saw it, but I didn't just see it from my eyes. I saw it from my eyes, and I saw it from the eyes of anyone impacted by my actions or my words. And it was weird because I could feel like that lasted a long time, but at the same time, it felt like a few seconds. And as that was happening, I started to get kind of enveloped in this dark energy, this fear energy. And as it felt like it was starting to snuff out my light, I then all of a sudden started to feel this warmth, as if somebody shined like a really bright light, or the sun came out from behind a cloud and started to warm my back. And as it did, that warmth started to come over my whole being. And I turned around to see where this warmth was coming from. As I was turning, I was seeing all the good things I ever did in my life. I started to see that I actually did quite a bit more good than I ever did bad. And I got to see that lots of times when I didn't know I was making a difference for people, I was. And I felt this just tremendous, unconditional love and peace and warmth, but also coolness at the same time coming over me. And again, it was all coming from behind me. So I turned fully around and I see this gentleman. And I had this thought, you must be God. And without him moving his mouth, he said, no, son, I'm not God. I'm your guide.
And it didn't have necessarily form, yet it was clearly a presence that was of the light, that was in the light. And I knew that this presence was other than myself, yet there in communion with myself, for me, to help me, to answer questions, to show me, to guide me. And this presence, it was like if you put your forehead, and I've used this analogy, if you put your forehead to someone else's forehead and you instantly know everything about them, everything about their life, all the nuances, all of the whys and the hows and the whats, and how this was for their learning and their growth and how they got to where they were going to be. I was able to see all that was going on in my life. Up until that point, I was able to know and see and understand it from a multi-sensory, multi-dimensional way. So it's kind of like being able to see all the different facets of something in quicker than a split second. Yeah. There's no time as we know it. Time is not linear there. Time, it's timeless. And
you know how many times I've heard time is timeless? Throughout many NDE cases. There are endless examples of individuals saying that. But I am fully convinced after spending a couple decades looking into these cases that this is a false perception casted down onto NDEers, or some NDEers, not all, but many. If you can take away the belief of time, which we know exists here, right? The construct of time. I truly believe it's a powerful mechanism in which the Matrix thrives and grows based off a false perception of a belief system that time doesn't exist outside of here. Now, time itself may be different or altered or minimal in the astral. But it's taken me a while to get here over the years, but I am of the full belief that I don't necessarily believe what they're saying. they may have this false perception that time doesn't exist outside of the earth realm. But I'm not fully convinced. I'm just not, because there's always like these hints that there is some metric of time that exists outside of here in which they're experiencing, but they may not realize. Do I know 100%? Of course not. But I'm just saying, I don't know. And I'm okay with that. And I just wanted to make sure to share that with you. Make of it what you will.
And once this had happened, I understood and I was able to see everything that had led me up until the point, and everything. There was something about my soul's journey up until that point, and in a bigger sense, and also what was going on in my life at the time.
And then I was sort of what I call on the other side of the veil. And then from there, I went right into, I guess, what's called a life review. But I remember just experiencing my entire life from childhood all the way until I was about 29, which is when this happened. It was right before my 29th birthday. And I experienced, like growing up, like being a baby and toddler, and everything was blissful. And they were just showing me like the really important parts of my life, right? Not every time I tied my shoe, but all these moments of decision and interaction with other people. And the first part was really blissful and wonderful. And then it's funny because I was still really young, but then I hit kindergarten. And in kindergarten, so I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and I was standing outside with a friend of mine outside my parents' house, and I was basically being mean to her on purpose. And I made her cry. And, I think at that age, you're kind of testing boundaries and just learning, you're still learning. But I was mean to her on purpose, and I made her cry. And I remember in my near-death experience, in my life review, I saw myself, like this was my first big review of, okay, let's look at this moment. And I had to live through it again, but I didn't live through it just as me. I lived through it like there was 3 of us. There was me, and I got to experience, and then I was living through it as my friend, as if I was her. It was like I was her, and I'm experiencing me being so mean to her, and even feeling like her getting sad and thinking like, why are you being mean? At the same time, I was experiencing it through the eyes of like the divine creator or God, however you want to express that. And there's no judgment from the divine creator, but I was mortified. I mean, I felt, what am I doing?
Okay, so if there's no judgment, we have to put this out there to ponder. If there's no judgment, why is there a system that is set into place, a mechanism, a program, mind you, that continually shows us with endless evidence that it exists and that it is a program itself, like an operating system. So if you die, if you have a near-death experience, you are going to have an experience that falls within the matrix programming and indoctrination that allows us to fall victim to the belief system that coincides with the earth realm and our own belief systems to fulfill some certain duty, and that duty is to keep reincarnating. It is a literal computer program, an operating system that taps into our essence in some form and plays itself out however it may will, and delivers at the behest of the system. That's just the cold, hard truth of what's happening. Now, is it right or is it just? No. But it is part of the deception system. And what they do is they bank off of our early childhood development and our evolution within the system to eventually, at our time of actual death or something like a near-death experience, to convince us that what is peddling is in fact authentic, right, just, etc., right? When it is further from the truth. Again, make of it what you will, but I'll go back to the beginning of the stream where I mentioned why why believe something that is trying so hard to advertise itself as right and just when it is in fact part of the insanity that happens here, which is parasitic in nature to its fullest. Again, I'm not saying it's all bad here. There's a lot of good. I have a lady that I love dearly. She means the world to me. And we've probably been through who knows how many incarnations. But at the end of the day, I think our attachments within this realm are part of keeping us here. That's my opinion. And it's a strong opinion. And you can take anything. You can take away relationships. You can take away all sorts of different things. Whatever your core belief systems are, whatever your core obsessions are, whatever your core attachments are, it doesn't matter, right? This place has a way of customizing itself around you. And it's proven itself to be that over and over and over again. And the Matrix itself does not want information or data patterns like this being exposed. My channel's never going to grow. I'm fine with that. No big deal, right? But the bottom line is this place is one big fat distraction of epic proportion. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't enjoy yourself while you're here. That doesn't mean you shouldn't embrace relationships you have, women or men that you're with, wives, husbands, doesn't matter, right? Like whatever you enjoy. But just know it's your last time. That's all. And make it clear in a relationship that that's where you're at. And I think anyone who is worth their, ounce and salt would honor that. Anyways, let's move on. We're pretty close to wrapping things up.
Mortified. I mean, I felt, what am I doing? What have I done? And I understood from all angles. So there wasn't like any judgment from the divine. But I definitely learned, what not to do. And then that just continued through my life, different moments where I had, the way I think of it now, the way I was more in alignment with my soul and acting from that. And then moments where I was more aligned with maybe ego and not being so nice. And I got to see every moment that I helped somebody, every moment that I was too in my ego. And so I went through all of that.
All right, my friends, we're going to leave it there. We've gone through all the cases. I appreciate you all. Getting a little tired. But thank you for stopping by. Please consider hitting the like button if you're new to the channel. Also subscribe. And consider joining the memberships on the channel. Always appreciated, but never expected. Level 2 stream membership gets you monthly member live stream, usually on the last Sunday of every month. And there's also a members archive to refer to and access to the members Discord server as well. And I think I'll leave it at that. I appreciate you all and thank you so much. Again, please consider hitting the like button on the way out, and we'll see each other again soon. Thank you.